points of being earnest. It's there in front of me, and I read it, and I kind of learn the whole play off by heart. I mean, it's still to this day. Did you hear what I was playing on the piano just now? I didn't think. I didn't really think much more of it. Occasionally people would use that tediously predictable phrase, born to be wild. And then suddenly I was approached by Julian Mitchell, the writer, and Brian Gilbert, the director, of Mark Samuelson, the producer, who had no idea to let it down. I mean, the one thing I was absolutely determined was that the Wild was not just a sort of epigram factory, just a machine for spouting bono and witticisms in a camp, brittle, peacocky manner, going, oh, too utterly utter. That everyone who described him described the mellow gravity of his voice, the seriousness with which he looked into your eyes, which is what made him so funny, because he, everything he said was said as if it was absolutely true. So when it was a dazzling paradox or a marvelous aphoristic turn of phrase, literal turn of phrase, where the thing is inverted, like work is the curse of the drinking classes, he didn't say it in inverted commas as if he knew it were a joke. He said it as if he just see it as the truth. And that made it funnier, but it was also part of his whole manner, is that there was a direct simplicity about him, not an arch countenance. So even if I was hopeless, I hoped the one thing I could set straight about Wild was that. So that was a heck of a thing. Another side to him was, of course, naturally people think of him as a gay martyr and a gay icon and a gay symbol for the age, but he was a marvellous father until he wasn't, until, of course, he created such a scandal, or was embroiled in such a scandal that obviously was disastrous for his family. And that betrayal was not a piece of good fatherhood. But while he was a father, he was a kindly father, a loving father, and he created one of the greatest gifts to children that there ever was, which is his fairy stories, which I don't think are well known enough. I think they rank absolutely with the Grimm fairy tale, fairy stories of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. They're marvellous tales. They have all his qualities and something extra. Greatness of heart and the beauty and the charm, and an amazing, I think the word is proleptic, as a sort of prophetic vision almost of what suffering and pain and sacrifice he would go through, although they were written at the height of his happiness and his riches and his popularity. There is a sort of doom in the way the stories play out, which is quite staggeringly, to say, prophetic. I suppose, yes, Wild teaches as much, even from 120 years in the past, seems as true as ever it was. He wrote marvellously in his essay, The Soul of Man Under Socialism, about the press. In medieval times, they had the rack, now we have the press. I think he predicted really quite brilliantly but there is a sort of, I think I was a columnist for several years for the Daily Telegraph, which is the most successful of himself, the most copies of the broadsheets of the series newspapers. And I could see how easy it was to be in the online world you want to live in. You can make your own kingdom in that sense. So things like Twitter, or I'm sure there are all kinds of Twitter, clusters of people who have politics that I would find horrific and religious views that I would find preposterous and pertinent. But I just don't have to follow them. And I can block where the viciousness is, because that's that really is just subjurating, boiling seas of acid where there's so much dip a toe, you've lost your limbs, just vileness abounding. Again, this resentment, I will be heard, and I will. Meanness and wrongness of society, where some people get it all and others get none, then the more bitterness there is. And I think it's difficult, because I don't certainly want there to be an aristocracy on the net. I don't want there to be that. I think that the whole beauty of not